Other NBA news that kind of dominated the headlines, probably more than the finals itself, is Danny Hurley declining the Los Angeles Lakers and staying at UConn. I want to say he had a 6 year, $70 million contract to make him top five highest paid coach in the NBA. I think we're a little split amongst the group of did he make the right decision? Should he have stayed at UConn and went for the third title in a row? Or do you go and relish the opportunity of coaching probably the most storied franchise in NBA history, getting the last couple of years of LeBron and kind of building the program post LeBron AD? So would love to get your guys' thoughts on did he make the right call in your opinion?
Personally, I think he made the right call. I mean, and I could argue either way, really. You could definitely argue if he went with the Lakers, it was definitely the right decision. Just with financially, like who wouldn't do that? But from a standpoint of just going back to stores, there, I just don't think he would be a good fit for the Lakers. I mean, he's just this hot headed dude that it works in college, and I think that part wouldn't fly as much. It would focus too much on the coach in the NBA, and that really doesn't happen all that much. I feel like, but he's more of a developmental guy, and likes to develop from high school, and then is building these championships. But I would feel like that's pretty hard. Would be pretty hard to do, especially with someone like LeBron, even though he is one of the greatest players of all time. He's definitely in the back nine of his career, I would say. So I don't know how much development there's going to be there, which is pluses and minuses. But I don't know. There's just I didn't see there would be benefit towards him. He's got it good at UConn, and why would you leave that?
Yeah, I think Hurley's going to look back at this, and it'll be his biggest regret on his deathbed. I think you turned down, again, the most storied franchise, the dream NBA job of anybody would want, coaching at the highest professional level with the greatest NBA player of all time. Sure, he can be a headache, but I don't see how you don't jump and take this. I think, yes, success is undeniable at UConn. I think the pay when you're looking at it in California, it was $70 million deal. Going to be a lot of taxes on that, so cut it to about 50
million he'd make. He would lose out on 40 million due to tax.
33 million he would make. 40 million would be lost out because of tax. And I think his contract at UConn,
again,
he signed.
Connecticut's not the best. Connecticut's not the tax haven of the world, but FYI. Right. So,
right. I get that. I just think, even put aside all the financial reasons about this, I think you don't turn down an opportunity to go coach the Lakers. LeBron's there. He's towards the end of his career. So yeah, maybe he's a pain in the ass and kind of runs the show for 2-3 years. Maybe you have to draft Bronny next year. I just don't think that would be a bad move, though. And I don't think there's been a lot made about his coaching style. And I completely understand you have a bit more of a leash when you're coaching young teenagers or young adults on these college teams. But there's been a lot of hard asses in the NBA too that have been okay. Look at Tibbs and his hard-nosed style. You can look up all the interviews from those Bulls teams, and even now of the emphasis on defense and really riding them. Yeah, maybe he's not the typical player coach, easy to get along with, and fun practices and all that, but that's not what they're there for. They're there to win championships. I think it'd be a good culture shock.
Not to be that guy, Tibbs got ran out of town twice until he took the Knicks job. He got ran out of town in Chicago, then he got ran out of town in Minnesota because they didn't like his coaching style. Now it's finally worked because he's got some guys. He's got college guys. He's got the Villanova guys in New York who went through the Jay Wright system, who probably enjoy that style of coaching. So I don't think it works for everyone. I think if you get that rare special team like the Knicks are, that'll work. But I don't think that works for everybody.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you have to mold. And again, this is when team building comes into play. And that's another sticky component, right? It's like, how much say does LeBron have? How much does Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, all of those, right? And is it really Dan Hurley's team, or is it outside of his hands? Because if that's the case, that would never work. He'd need to bring in those players that would really commit to his system. And that's what I'm saying, where sure, you have a few years left of LeBron. After that, though, maybe some high draft picks and really remolding this into the true team that you want there in LA.
Building off what you guys both said, I think it's a phenomenal move not to go do it, because in a few years, sure, he could build it into something great. Let's just start there. He already has what he needs at UConn. They're already the center focal point, basically, of college basketball, back-to-back. They could go for a three-peat. I mean, they're the top of the top right now. And his coaching style fits much better with younger kids. Like, imagine him trying to be up in LeBron, for example's face like that. Like, that's just not going to mix at all. LeBron's going to be like, dude, I run this league. Like, I could have you fired tomorrow if you're really going to talk to me like that. Not saying he would, but his coaching style works much better with people who need to prove themselves rather than in the NBA. I believe you need more of a hands-off coach, because it's much more about personalities in the NBA, just managing people's personalities to get the locker room to gel together and then play basketball. Rather
Especially
than
with the personalities in LA. Like, you need to be a player's guy out there.
Yeah, exactly. And a good point, it is LA. So it's very much a player's coach. And I feel like where he is now, he's already built his legacy and kingdom at UConn, in my opinion. So like leaving to just start over from square one after building it up to where it is now just seems like, I don't know, it seems like you're going in a circle. Like, you're already where you probably dreamed of being, and like seeing him as a coach and how much the players buy into him. And he's already the guy at UConn. So it's like he already has what he needs. Why throw it away to try to do something out in LA when he already has everything put together? I think he's making a great decision. He'll look back in 5 years like, this is phenomenal. The Lakers are terrible. It would have like ruined my coaching resume and career. And I think it's definitely a good move on his part just to stay where he's already the king. Because even if he doesn't win this year, I think they'll probably make an Elite Eight, maybe a Final Four appearance, just given how he's such a good coach. So the next 3 to 4 years, I think he'll look back like this is a fantastic decision. UConn still loves him. He's going to basically be coaching there for as long as they want him to be. I think he can really just be like Calipari was at Kentucky, but as we saw with Calipari, that also runs out after about a decade.
I don't think this was early turning down a chance at the pros based off of who he is, because he's a very self-aware guy. You can see it in interviews that he does. You can see it in the way he coaches his players. He's very self-aware and knowledgeable about himself. I think this is him turning down the Lakers, not the NBA, because he's expressed interest in multiple interviews throughout the past of, hey, my end goal is the NBA. Now, with the Lakers, you don't know if you're going to have creative control over that team. You do. You're dealing with LeBron Cam. You're dealing with Pelinka. You're dealing with Jeannie Buss. You have all these heads, and you're probably the most scrutinized coach from the time football season ends till mid-June, no matter if you're in the finals or not. With UConn, yes, you have your Big East fans who are very loyal people, great people, but this is not the Lakers. This is not the national media. This is not you getting talked about every single day on First Take. And hell, you're moving halfway. You're moving across the country. Your wife probably isn't the biggest fan of LA. And as we know, Hurley's wife is the one who calls the shots in the relationship. But I think it's that, and he's self-aware enough to where he knows, hey, I'm not mature enough for the NBA right now. He's a high school guy through and through. He coaches UConn like he coaches a high school team. He's well aware and has said it before that, like, maybe this isn't going to work in the NBA. I have to wait and mature. I have to wait and become a better coach. I have to become more of a cooler and calmer head, per se, not so much a hot head, because that shit's not going to work with the NBA. That shit's especially not going to work with 40-year-old LeBron, who's seen it, done it, everything that there's been done in professional basketball. So I think that's one thing. But I think if the Knicks job opened up this year, which it would never, because I think they're going to give Thibodeau an extension. If it did, I think he would jump for something like that. I don't think it's more of him as, hey, I'm not ready for this, because he could always give it a shot and always come back to college. He'd be always welcome back there, just like Pitino, just like Calipari did when they made the jump to the NBA. They're always welcome back at these blue blood jobs. I think it's more along the lines of the fit didn't work out for him. And money, whatever, because he's going to get another extension with UConn. It's going to be worth, I think, $50 million over the next couple of years. So $20 million less than he's making than he would have made in LA. And creative control of what he wants to do with his program. Yes, it's a lot more work in college, but you still have that stability and you still have that familiarity when you can always make the jump at a later point.
Are are you telling me though? Because I'm thinking it comes into LA. The first guys I'm going after, I'm just creating a defensive team, right? I'm going counterculture. Who cares about offense? I'm almost going Bo Ryan Badgers, right? Very fundamentals. We're going Rudy Gobert. I think we're going Jay Sean Tate, DeAndre Hunter, Lou Dort. I don't know how there's going to be points scored. It's going to be very ugly. They're going to turn it into a very slow paced game and team. They might even look like St. Mary's and how slow they play within the tournament. But I think there could be some culture mix up in LA. I don't know if that would go over well with the front office, but yeah, I guess we'll never know. Do you think he gets back to the finals next year with UConn? You think he makes it back?
As a huge Duke fan, I got my money on Duke. Given I think this is their best recruiting class. I think they have 3 of the top 10 recruits, but UConn's right there. So I wouldn't be surprised either way. I think UConn definitely is a shot. All the players that come out of UConn, I feel like Hurley as a coach. There's no somebody graduates and talks bad on him, like, oh, I didn't like him, blah blah blah. But I think definitely they got a shot to win it and three-peat.
Yeah, why wouldn't you try for a three-peat rather than go coach a perennial play-in team?
Do we think the Lakers crawl back crying to JJ Redick?
I got to think about that. What if the Danny Hurley thing was the smoke screen to the smoke screen, and they just needed time to buy like JJ some time, basically, because he's got to call the finals and do all this, but they, like I think another name gets thrown around is James Borrego. I'm like, well, who was he with? The Hornets? I don't think that was like, I didn't think that experiment went too well. I mean,
I
but
think he's AD's guy. I think AD has a say in that one.
interesting, Mr. Glass.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to rely on a person that's as reliable as Mr. Glass. And we're not talking about him making rebounds. We're talking about him being on the basically having rent on the IR. So,
Hey, it's not a hot topic, but Bo Ryan is technically a free agent. They could bring him in. They could make him a juicy offer. I don't know if they're ready for the swing offense in LA. I don't know if they're ready.
Yeah, that would be the death of Showtime.
We're here for it if it happens.
You would kill Showtime.
JJ, just to touch on that, seems like much more of a fit in LA than Hurley. Like, just from a personality perspective, I feel JJ is going to be way more of a hands-off, definitely a player's coach. Like, everybody's probably going to gel with him just because he's been through the whole process. And Hurley just has a different philosophy, and both work, but they both work in different systems. And I think LA is much more aligned with like hands off, let me do my thing. When we have to work, you can get on my ass, tell me what I got to do. But there's a line that it's just a different way of thinking.
Yeah, and I want to say this. I'm not saying Hurley can't do that at some point in his career. I don't think right now is that moment for him. And with JJ, I don't want to say it so much as a smokescreen, but I don't see why you just can't say, hey, we're going after JJ Redick. We all know he's doing the finals. We all know he's broadcasting the finals, so why not? I mean, the Bucks poached Doc Rivers midway through the season. He was calling games.
that's true.
I don't know. JJ's pretty busy though. He's finally blowing up. He had Russillo on the pod like 2 weeks ago. I mean, are you giving that up for a Lakers job? I don't know. I don't think so. What were you going to say, Bo?
JJ, just on that point, being a player's coach is super laid back. What did you just think if they? I guess it is because he's doing the finals thing. Do you think this is just a distraction, like Luke said, or do you guys actually believe they're going after him and they're just kind of feeling out the water?
I think he's clearly their second option. I feel like it's they're in the situation where they just asked somebody to prom, they got rejected, and now they're going to the second girl that knew they're the second option. That's not a good place to be. If you're JJ, you're probably still taking it because the money will be great. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, but that's a rocky way to start off the relationship there.
Yeah, and I don't know what the state of the NBA. Like, the Lakers are not. They're not even in really the top 10 team. They're in the bottom half seemingly, and I don't know what their cap situation looks like, any of their trade picks look like, but if they're gonna have any success in building and making a run, they gotta figure it out. I don't know what that is, but I don't know if a coach is gonna do that. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I don't know how much, as of just recently, player coaches have fared in the NBA. I mean, you look at Chauncey Billups up in Portland. I mean, that team's kind of a dumpster fire. yeah, you have draft picks, but like it's only going to get you so far. And the Lakers do control most of their draft picks. I believe they control this year's first. I don't think they have next year's first, but they do have picks once LeBron leaves, evident or retires. But I don't know. I think you have to go out and hire, whether it is James Borrego, which is not a splashy hire. I don't like the hire. But I want to say Woj tweeted it today, like, hey, they've looked at the college ranks once. Do you go back and look at the college ranks again? Like, do you pick a guy at one of these high major programs and just kind of give him another look?
Do you throw an offer out to Cal and make the funniest thing happen in the world? I think that would be awesome.
Gosh, that would be wild. That would be actually that'd be very LA. That'd be entertaining. All of the media would be all over that.
Tyson Chicken Nuggets will have to pay more. He'll have to ante up with so much more money.
The Cal tax.
Tyson would pay whatever they wanted to get him to stay. They'll triple the Lakers' salary.
Yeah, they would. They would.
I was just thinking too, guys, with LeBron, still very productive. Like I loved watching him this year. Obviously, still a huge impact player. Do you think we're getting closer to that bridge though of drawing out his career a little bit? I mean, how many years do you think he has in him? 2 max, maybe, or are you guys not seeing any signs of him kind of dipping?
I think we're getting close. You know, we see kind of not even from a basketball standpoint. Yes, he does sit out, you know, just due to load management and injuries and just kind of maintenance, I guess. But just from his outside life, you know, you get to see a little more and kind of paralleling to like a Nick Saban. You know, he started to get on TV more, started to see like a more personable side of it. So I don't know. Maybe there's a correlation, maybe there's not to that. But you know, with LeBron doing all these podcasts with JJ, and you know, getting these wine talks or whatever, like I don't know. I think people tend to, when they get to the end of their career, that's when things like that, at least in this modern-ish era, I think it is coming to an end.
I think he already would have been done if Ronnie wasn't so close to being in the league. I think he's just trying to make history, be like, I played with my son. Anybody who coaches that team, that's going to be the pick no matter what. It might be like a rule not written, but like wherever Bronny is available, that's the team he's going to. Because that'll be something probably nobody will be able to say in the history of the NBA, like I played with my son and am basically the greatest basketball player that's ever played. So I think if Bronny, let's just say, was 5 years younger, I think he already would have retired and he would just be like, yeah, you know, I've done everything. I basically have won every stat box score. I've won the rings. This is the most dominant player for a decade and a half, 2 decades. But I think he's really just trying to play with his son. And, I mean, that's really the only factor of why he would still be in the league, in my eyes.
I think he still has something left in the tank still. He's a top 15 NBA player still. Yeah, he wasn't what he was with like those 2010 teens Heat teams and those early Cavs teams and those late Cavs teams, but he's still a top 15, arguably top 20 player in the NBA. He's the best player in the Lakers. The Lakers are a playing team. And people were legit, if they didn't match up with the Nuggets in the first round, people legit said, hey, maybe the Lakers could have made a run. I mean, hell, they made the conference finals last year. They were 4 games away from getting to another finals at age, whatever it was, 37. I still think there's not a lot left in the tank, but I don't want to say, hey, he's got 2 years left. He's got a year left. He just wants to play with his son. I still think the drive to win a title is still there. And all of those things are added pluses by completing the points record a couple years ago, playing with his son. But there's a lot more to give on the court for LeBron, I believe. And everyone's saying, yes, they're going to count him out at some point. But I haven't seen that point yet, so I don't want to count him out just yet.
Yeah. And if we are in this waiting period for, I mean, if any coach is feeling tortured of taking this job because they feel like LeBron is running the show, why not just throw Rob Pelinka down there? Like, I remember when Bo and I saw him at one of the Milwaukee playoff games. He's got the face for LA. He could do press conferences. He looks like Rob Lowe. Like, I don't know. If you just want somebody to be a puppet, throw him down on the court. I don't know. It might not be a bad idea.
You could, in just this scenario, you could really, building off of that, take like a really young coach who they're like, everybody in the league's like, why did you take this guy? But LeBron could probably just coach him like, look, I run this team. You're just going to do what I say, and then when I'm gone, you can actually run the team.
Maybe throw an offer for Doug Gottlieb. I don't know.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Might as well get Jeff.
Where's he at? Like Green Bay High School or something like that?
Green Bay College. Yep. Okay, here's a good tangent. Who would you pick, not a basketball coach at all, who would you pick to coach the Lakers?
Jim Rome.
I like that.
That's good. I appreciated that one.
That was good.
It's Jim Rome in the jungle. The whole jungle help coach the team.
He
Jim
does
Rome.
Twitter polls for his roster moves.
Jim Rome live on X. That's why we're not live on X yet. We gotta go on days that Rome's not live because he's gonna take away from our audience a little bit.
Taking away from viewership. No good. Not good.
Not to make one last point on the Lakers, but have you guys considered maybe the fact that they just hire a rental till LeBron's done? They get a LeBron guy to come in, not Ty Lue because he just signed an extension, but a guy like that to coach for the next 2-3 years, and then when he retires, then you get a program builder. Then maybe you go after Hurley again, or you go after one of these younger guys like a Joe Mads or like a Udoka when Brad Stevens hired him in Boston for the first time. Do you get a guy like that that can grow with the team and kind of build that culture and build that program?
I think that's really interesting, to be honest with you, because I feel like, like I said before, like the Lakers are not going to win a championship in the near future, and so why waste a good talent like Danny Hurley, in that time frame? Because sports nowadays, it's just such a scoreboard business, and with the market that they're in, it's going to get hot. It doesn't matter how long his contract is. I mean, obviously, though, it would be an expensive one for sure. But yeah, I definitely agree with the rental. Maybe that's where the James Borrego comes through. So,
or for rentals, why aren't we talking Udonis Haslem, James Jones? I mean, guys that have been carried to those past teams, just throw them in the hot seat. Who knows? On that point too, like my other point with Hurley, I just think with the headaches of NIL and portal, I know we beat this dead horse already, but I think just dealing with NBA free agency might be a lot easier. I think it's only going to get tougher to recruit. Of course, you've won national championships. That helps play in recruiting, but we'll see. And I did just want to touch on one final NBA point before we move on here. I was very frustrated during game 2. We had a little action on the game, 3-leg parlay, and it was going to hit. I thought it was certain. I needed Luka over 32.5 points. He's at 29 ending the third quarter. Of course, with them being down, that's hitting, right? He ends at 32. Crushed. Gotta love the little extra excitement on the game, but that did piss me off. That irked me a little bit. I did have to throw that in there. That was my very agonizing moment of the weekend there. But anything else, guys, on the NBA?
After hearing that 3-leg parlay miss, I thought you're definitely going to say they're going to get swept now. I thought that was it, lock it in.